Back with another one, and I want to bring this up today because I ran into something I actually saw a while back. It was on Wami Brown's channel during a stream with Anton Daniels and Gilbert Arenas, where Gil was breaking down the situation and explaining the deal. I'm just going to pull a small piece from that. Wami did a 4-hour live stream about 10 months ago, and I'll show a screenshot of it right here. If you want the full thing, go back and watch it, and make sure you subscribe to Wami's channel. But we're bringing this up because Anton Daniels has now reacted to everything going on with Gilbert, and it made me go back and think about that live stream where Wami and Gilbert were discussing a lot of behind-the-scenes details. Now, looking at it 10 months later, some of what Gilbert said actually seems to be playing out in real time, especially now that the deal has ended. One of the biggest things he mentioned was that Underdog wouldn't be able to use Skip Bayless and the crew once his contract was finished, but as we've seen in recent episodes, they're still featuring Skip Bayless and the rest of the cast. So now let's run that clip and see exactly what he said before we get into Anton's reaction.
Fully controlling.
Did you lose control though?
What do you mean?
Because you don't, based off of what you were saying, you don't get to determine how the show goes. You know what I'm saying? Because okay, the partnership, I get, you didn't really understand exactly how big the platform was gonna get. I think you undersold yourself because you didn't realize how great you was as a content creator, honestly. And I've given you props. I've always celebrated you and said that I think that you are incredible and that you got the #1 basketball show in the whole 9 yards. But at what point in this infrastructure deal did you give up the control to where you can't determine, hey, no, I'm executive producing this, I'm controlling my own IP, I determine how many times we stream, I determine whether or not we want to add a football show. At what point did that part come in is what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay, so I had 50% of both shows. So basically any show I produce under No Chill Productions. So No Chill Production is what's 50-50. They don't have rights to Gilbert Arenas. So this channel, anything I do with my name and likeness outside of No Chill Productions, I own 100%. So I'm not exclusive to doing deals, right, with other people. So I never really had control. I didn't want control of thumbnails and all that because I didn't really know about it. I didn't really care. Just you do what you need to do. I'll learn on the way when my contract is up, which is up in 10 months from now. I own all the equipment.
You get to keep everything?
So basically my deal is actually this. I own all the equipment. Now, when it comes to the show itself, remember, it's a concept.
Right.
It's not real. 50% is real if we sell it. Now, if I walk away, what do they have? They can't use Gil's Arena name. They can't use Gil's Arena crew. That's part of my deal. They can't use Skip Bayless and the crew. That's part of my deal. So that means they will have to start brand new with a whole different cast and everything.
So I'm going to be really interested to see whether they keep using Nick Young, Kenyon Martin, Rashad McCants, and Brandon Jennings moving forward, because that's exactly what's happening right now. The same thing Gilbert said they wouldn't be able to do, they're still doing it. But at the same time, Gil did say those contracts are still technically under Underdog, so I'm a little confused about how they wouldn't still be able to use that lineup. It would have to be written in a very specific way in the contract. Something like if Gilbert separates from them before certain deals expire, Underdog can't continue using those personalities. But it doesn't really look like it was structured that way because the show is still running and Anton is now literally sitting in Gilbert's spot. So let's get into Anton's reaction and see what he had to say about everything that's going on.
Gil is the main attraction. It just is what it is. People can get upset about it. They can feel some type of way about it, but there's always going to be a main, right? Stephen A is First Take. Gilbert Arenas is Gil's Arena / the Arena. And it doesn't mean that everybody else don't contribute or that they don't have great takes or all of this other type of stuff. But in my personal opinion, there is no arena. And of course, they're going to try to keep the show going and all of this other stuff. And I hope that everybody makes a lot of money and all of that. But from my perspective is Gil, and that's the main thing that everybody came to see. and then it's everybody else. It's probably, if I were Gil, this is what I would do. All right. He went through the crash test and he learned, right? I said that he should have owned 100% of the show and he should have been, controlling it. He said, well, I didn't know any different. I didn't know any better. And so I needed them to come in and build the infrastructure, which is logical. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what you don't know. They brought in, built the infrastructure, but he learned. He learned throughout the entire process how you're supposed to move more effectively going forward in the future. So all of this time, they made the money. Everybody got their bag. You got your sponsorships. If I were Gil this time, I would keep 100% ownership and I would license it out. Everything would just be based off of sponsors and I would take more control over my platform. And I know, see, the tale between two worlds is ownership versus money. Ownership versus money. This is the real conversation that we all should be having and that nobody is having. And everybody is saying, see, I told you they was going to take it. Yeah, I mean, I was the first person to say it, to be honest with you. But at the same time, once he started having a conversation, it made sense because it's like, well, listen, I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what I'm building and all of this stuff. So maybe I should give up some ownership and maybe I should let them come in and do it because they're the ones that's putting up all of the money. That way I don't have to put up my own money. I don't have to do this. And I didn't even know if it was going to work or not. And it worked, it blew up, but now what did you learn from the situation?
Now, I just wanted to tap into some of Anton's reaction here, not the full video, just a piece of what he had to say, because I remember he was actually on that same live stream and he's breaking it down from a different angle. And listen to this. A lot of these companies are really looking to take control of your IP. Gilbert probably thought he was stepping into a partnership. Still, if you don't fully understand how these deals work, the language in those contracts is usually designed to protect the company first. They structure everything in their favor, especially when they're putting up the money and building out studios and production setups. So the real question becomes, is if that Underdog can't use Gil's crew, or are they just choosing to keep everything in-house and move differently now? Because Gil says they can't use the cast, yet it looks like they still are, which makes everything unclear. And that's why people are questioning whether that restriction was even enforceable in the first place. You also have to think about the bigger picture. If this show was built on that organic daily live energy, what happens when the structure changes? We even saw moments when Rashad McCants and Kenyon Martin were pushing boundaries on a stream that might not have been acceptable on a more controlled platform. And that's the difference between running your own thing versus operating under a bigger company. At one point, all those guys were pulling up to Gil's house constantly to go live, and even the neighbors were allegedly complaining about the traffic. That was the reality of building something raw and unfiltered like that. But now the question is whether Gil has learned from that experience or if he's still figuring it out in real time. And honestly, that's where Anton's perspective hits. You don't know what you don't know until you're already in the deal. That's why having the right people around you before signing something like that really matters, because once you sign that IP away, it's not as simple as just walking it back. And it even connects to what Country Wayne recently talked about, how platforms come in trying to buy the secret sauce once you've already built the audience. At the end of the day, this is really about control, ownership, and who gets to decide what that content becomes moving forward. Well, I mean, there's a mix of comedy and theatrics in it, but at the same time, it still feels believable because you really had to be in those situations to recreate that energy and put it out there. And Country Wayne understands that perfectly. Like, nah, if you're coming for that, you're talking about $500 million up front, period. And even then, that's still a conversation, not even a full deal. He probably still wouldn't give up full control just for streaming or licensing either. And honestly, I'm with Anton on this one. You can license it out without giving everything away. Pat McAfee is still going live on his own YouTube channel even while being on ESPN, so he's not really giving anything up. He's just showing the value of his audience at a specific time. And that's the part I feel like Gil could have approached differently, instead of how it played out with Underdog seemingly having the upper hand. So I want to know what you guys think about all of this. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.